Alright everybody, this is C Brown PT back again with another video kind of talking a little bit about KJF. Um, I know it's going to be a little while till I can create a actual gameplay video because my games are kind of slow and I don't play a lot of games at one time, so it'll be a little while till I can drop another one. So I figured I'd maybe make a video or two just with some kind of discussion points that aren't necessarily uh, actual gameplay video. So in any case, in this video I want to talk about the UK role a little bit more in the KJF Kill Japan First scenario. In particular, I want to talk about a twist opener for myself that I'm kind of playing with and I'm really starting to like more and more as I look at it. I haven't gotten a chance to test it out a whole lot in my games yet, but I'm really starting to like it. And I also want to talk a little bit about the Atlantic Fleet for the UK and a KJF and its role and some of my thoughts, quick thoughts on there. So the twist opener, I will tell you, this twist opener is for that person, that player that really wants an excuse to do a KJF, but at the same time wants to be able to still pursue a KGF if, Japan makes a crazy move and goes in all defensive mode. So I always liked the idea of being able to make that final decision on US1, and so this opener, I think, allows me to do it, but I will tell you it is biased towards doing a KJF because that's what I like to do. So, that said, real quick, I want to go back through, before I get into my screenplay here, I want to show you the UK goals. So remember, first UK goal is don't get sea lioned. Again, a sea lion being where Germany attacks London directly and takes it. So when you get to drop a UK Atlantic fleet, it's not that big of a deal, not that hard to hold off. There's a small window in there, but it's a lot easier to hold off the Sea Lion when you have a fleet there to limit the possibility of them dropping a German fleet in the Baltic. However, in the series where I don't get an Atlantic fleet, because remember that is going to come later, I got to be very careful. There's certainly some windows where Germany could try to do a fast drop and attack on a Sea Lion, so we got to be preparing ahead of that. Number two, the UK needs to help the US in the Pacific as set up a stack on one of the money islands as fast as possible. In my first game video, you got to see how I can do it with a mega drop of a UK fleet in India. There's different variations of how I do this. This may be on UK1, it may be on UK2, it may be on UK3. It all just kind of depends on how the Axis is playing. I've dropped 2 carriers and a destroyer with 4 fighters ready to sacrifice them completely. But it also can be something smaller. It can be more subtle. It could be UK squeezing in some subs. And I haven't done the exact math and counted it all the way out, but I know it doesn't take a lot to tip the balance in favor of the US and the US versus Japan build. And so I like to say maybe 3 subs, 3 extra subs that UK needs to build to tip that battle point. Next is dropping that Atlantic fleet. And again, I will say that I'll go into a little bit more detail on what I do with that Atlantic fleet, but definitely very helpful when you can get that. And next is don't lose India. So I actually dropped this down a little bit on the list because I did lose India once and still ended up winning the game. But the key to it was the US was right on their tails and was able to take India back real quick. And again, it was a fast flowing game from there. And then the last part for UK is to help Russia as much as possible defend against Germany. So in any case, I created a hot seat game here I want to show you. And just for a pause, a step side, you'll see I got lots of hot seat games. This is something I recommend for you guys that when you're asking yourself, can I move a transport past a sub, or can I load in a hostile sea zone or unload, or all those questions, or can a fighter do this, or a bomber do that, or transport do that, or stuff. This is what all this is. All this is me playing, fast forwarding through a game just to create a unique situation that I'm not sure how the game is going to play. I highly recommend that. There's all sorts of game states you can see that I have going on in here. But for this, we're going to go to this hot seat game where I wanted to create a more kind of a traditional approach game versus my first game video where they went to the Atlantic, and that's I guess it's not untraditional because there's definitely some players that like to send that battleship to the Atlantic. So Just a quick catch up into what happened so far. Russia had a pretty good turn. Germany had to use one tank to take Ukraine back, but Germany did do a Transjordan, and UK came back, used their two fighters and bomber to kill the battleship. Um, Germany's build was 11 infantry, 2 artillery, so they had the 5 fighters, which meant the UK was comfortable dropping a fleet in their turn here. So a little bit more kind of a, I don't want to say standard because with dice games nothing's standard, but I wanted to really talk about the Transjordan attack because you do see that a lot. So again, UK's response was the normal attack there, and we were able to drop that Atlantic Fleet. But remember, before dropping Atlantic Fleet in my priority list was helping the US in the Pacific. So you're going to see I built 1 infantry, 1 sub, 1 destroyer, 1 carrier. Destroyer and carrier obviously went up here for that fleet, and you'll see I actually dropped a sub in India and then 1 infantry, and that Australian fleet, instead of it all going to Season 41, I sent the transport out there as bait in essence, and sent my cruiser sub to Season 30, dropped a sub here in Season 35, and yes, my subs are on submerge because I had to send that carrier cruiser to Season 61 to kill that destroyer and transport, and everyone talks about how valuable that transport is, but in my strategy here, that destroyer is very important and very valuable to Japan as well, because now when you look at the board, Japan has 1 destroyer left in here. And destroyers for Japan are important, 1, for being able to hit subs from submerging, and 2, they're needed for destroyer blocks, where say Japan's navy's here is in 48 and US is in 45, and they could beat the 48 navy, so they'll put a destroyer in 49 so that only the air can attack Season 48. So destroyers are an important piece. And my goal, come KJF, is to split his navy up as much as possible and stretch it out. And if he's only got 1 destroyer, that's really going to be a hamper. So if we take a little closer look at what we're talking about here, the first thing you might say is, well, they can kill 2 transports for free. And, well, that's kind of true. This sub can come down here and kill this transport. It wouldn't be for free because the US could send a destroyer there, but also, even if I decide not to because of whatever play happens, his sub's way out here in 41, and you get this entire US Navy here, and Japan's going to be over on this side. It's going to be very hard for that sub to get back into the battle and relevant. So it's at a cost of a sub. And again, I'm just trying to take away a piece here and there from Japan whenever I can. The second part is this Indian Ocean area. So they've got a couple choices they could make. Again, they could kill that transport, but then they have to bring the carrier to 32. If they bring that carrier to 32, I now have 2 fighters, 2 subs, and a cruiser that could go and attack there. Well, you say they could use the battleship to hit my cruiser, sure, but then you just got a carrier with 2 subs and 2 fighters, and again, we got a carrier in a hostile sea zone for them, so all I have to do is kill the carrier, and the fighters are going to die too. So again, if they decide to go here, they're going to have to move the whole thing, the battleship and the carrier, and I can tell you, even there, with 2 subs, a cruiser, and 2 fighters, that is a losing battle for Japan. And I highly recommend you watch my next video that I'm going to talk about defense profiles in Navy battles, and I will actually talk about this battle a little bit in more detail. But just suffice it to say, it's going to be a losing battle for them. So if you think about a normal Transjordan game and a 3 infantry build here, this transport, and these guys going this way, this transport normally ends up getting killed. He can go to the 34, bring infantry, or he can come here, but a lot of times Japan's going to take that free kill on a transport. But they don't get to kill this transport. Now, in essence, I'm letting him kill this transport at potential cost of moving his sub out of place, but they're not going to be able to kill this one. So the UK still has at least 1 transport coming back around in case I decide to go KJF. And again, this cruiser sub can catch up with them on the way out going this way around Africa instead. Of course, actually the sub wouldn't have to go, just a cruiser, but other option that Japan could do is they could send the 2 fighters against the cruiser, and then come back into Sea Zone 36 in this direction. But if you're gonna send just 2 fighters against a cruiser, you're gonna give me a 50-50 shot on one of your fighters and a possible KJF in a trade for my cruiser. I'll take it. So I'm perfectly happy for him to attempt that. So then the next option is he could just send the battleship carrier this direction. I say battleship and carrier because if he did just a battleship, again, my subs aren't submerged, so I'm going to have 2 subs coming against the battleship. And although that favors the battleship slightly, I don't know that's necessarily a risk you want to take if you're in defense of a KJF. So probably going to bring the battleship carrier here. If their battleship carrier is sitting in 30, and their other battleship carrier are sitting up here in the 61-48, we got a lot of space, and they're way down here, a sub's way down here, and if I bring that US up north, they're going to be really spaced out with, part of the Navy here, part of the Navy here, part of the Navy here. And so this is, like I said, I want to stretch them out. So then the next option would be, okay, what about if we just pull them back? Pull them back, get that Japan, because again, Japan fleet likes to be united, so let's get that Japan fleet united in 61-48 and get ready for a defensive build. If they do that, then this cruiser can come to Sea Zone 36 as a block. And so only the Air Force can come in here, and so now I can do one of those big UK drops with a carrier and a couple destroyers or whatever I decide to build, and all they can do is sacrifice air against my build there. They can't even sacrifice subs or destroyer or take battleship shots. So again, just leaving 36 open is not a great idea. With my fighters here, I'm putting pressure. 1, 2, 3 carrier build, they land in India, so we still got 2 fighters, 2 subs, and a cruiser putting pressure here if they came back. So they can't, we already discussed, they can't just put the carrier and battleship here, so they're gonna have to bring more stuff to 36 to hold that. That's going to be up to them, whether that's a destroyer coming all the way down, or the carrier, second carrier, or the cruiser, or whatever. They're going to need something in there. And if they're doing this, they're probably not doing Pearl, which again gives me that opportunity to bring the US up north and start stretching them out this direction. One of the things, I actually have become a fan of Sea Zone 64 just because of how it can put double pressure there, especially early on, in which case they need to get a destroyer. They're 1 destroyer up here, and they can play with that. But that's a whole other discussion. The US is another video. We're talking about the UK. So they can get this destroyer down into Sea Zone 61 and 36 and stack up here where it would not be reasonable to drop a major fleet here. So the next turn, UK2, I could simply drop another sub and pull this sub on down here and the sub and cruiser into safety or wherever. And then again, yeah, you say he could send the destroyer and fighters and kill him, but then I've got subs and fighters that just trade it back. And again, UK trading with Japan is good in a KJF scenario. So we're kind of setting up a little bit of a kill zone. I can't really call it a dead zone because they could go there, but it's going to be at major cost if they decide to stack India. So we're creating a little trade zone if they choose to. And again, remember, they've only got 1 destroyer, especially if they did a 3 transport, 3 infantry build on Japan 1. Now they've really only got 1 destroyer. So they could send it and build another destroyer, but now there's no destroyer that can reach here. So the next turn I could drop 1, 2, 3 subs, whatever it's going to take to get that stack. So I will say this is kind of my new opener setup. Makes Japan make some choices. And I think it's a pretty good setup. Again, if they do a defensive build, then I go KGF, and I've lost 2 infantry, but again, that means they've only built 2 more or 1 more transport, which means they've lost the transport ability of 2 infantry from Japan. So that 2 infantry loss, not a big deal. I'll be able to recounter that. And on a positive side, which I hadn't even thought about, but one of the other players pointed this out to me, I've got 2 subs now on this side of the Japan Navy, which means when Japan in a KGF is coming here and trying to get to India and we got some UK air, we've got a couple subs with the UK air to harass this Japan Navy and kind of slow their transition to Africa into play. So I'm comfortable with this going KGF if they do a defensive build. If they come out this way or here, then I'm probably going to go KJF. And again, if they do the traditional 3 transport, 3 infantry build, I'm probably getting ready to go KJF because I like to play KJF. Of course, me putting this out here, I'm sure those top players are going to be getting some good strategies against me. Real quick on the UK Navy, I did want to talk about this real fast. If you saw my other video, you know my goals is for the Allied fleet to stack one of the money islands by round 5 at the latest, which means I need Moscow to survive to round 7 at least. So when I do get a UK fleet, economics says UK2 I should start hitting up here in the north, because these are territories that is just going to gain value right off the bat, and Germany's not going to come this direction because that's going to be a waste of time and they need to get those units to Moscow quickly. However, I don't necessarily go that route. So UK2, I'm going to come into France or Northwest Europe, whatever they're giving me on this side. And that's because that means, again, remember UK comes after Germany. So for UK2, they're moving to here, then Germany 3, they're going to have to attack back. They're going to have to trade back this direction towards the west. And I'll do the same thing on UK3 and possibly UK4, so that Germany on turn 3 and 4 are sending units this direction, land units that way. Because if you think about it, if I don't do anything back here, then on Germany 3, the land units goes 3, 4, 5, hitting Moscow on 6, which is a key turn for the defense of Moscow, or those German 4s are going to go 4, 5, 6, 7, hitting on that turn 7. So any of these units, if I can make 3, 4, 5 of his land units go the wrong direction and be traded, those 3 to 5 units can make the difference in Moscow surviving round 6, round 7, and maybe make it to round 8 and even 9, as I have done. So even though it may make more sense to hit here right off the bat in a big economic picture, I think the strategic situation dictates me coming on to this west side and making them spend some units going this direction to help. So this, in essence, is the Atlantic fleet helping Russia by making them send units that direction. So in any case, I hope that's a unique opener for you to consider, and just some thoughts as far as that Atlantic fleet goes. And look forward to making some more videos, and keep an eye out for my next one on defensive profiles and the Navy battle.